What's up, guys, and how is everybody doing out there? I hope everybody is doing well. A couple things right off the bat. Yes, I know foreigners cannot own land, all right, here in the Philippines. Another thing, I know land disputes can end in a very bad outcome, all right. Third, when I refer to like our property, my family's property, my property, I am referring to my family's property, not me, right? My family's property. Um, but yeah, it's been a very interesting couple weeks. Also, I was not involved with any of this. So don't say, well, the foreigners involved, that's why. I was nowhere around when all this was taking place. So to clear all that up right off the beginning. Um, so, yes, we went out and we found a land law attorney. All right. My wife and her uncle went to the land law attorney and talked to the land law attorney. Hey, we have been on this property for over 30 years. We developed it. What can we do? Can we obtain a tax declaration? Can we get a title for it? What are the options? What do we have that we can do? All right. So the tax or the attorney said the land attorney, this is what she specializes in. All right. And the attorney was not from this area, it was over in the general Luna area. They said, well, yeah. They explained everything to the attorney, and the attorney said, yes, here are the steps you need to take to get a title for the land. Possibly get a title for the land. First thing you need to do is get a survey. Get a survey. Come back and we'll talk after the survey. Okay. So, went down, got a surveyor, set up a date. The surveyor came up here to do the survey. However, the surveyor went to the barangay hall. I don't know if it's standard procedure when a property is being surveyed that you got to go to the barangay hall and say, hey, we're doing a survey in your barangay. I don't know if it's standard procedure. So they went to the barangay hall, said, hey, we're doing a survey. Now, the land next to the property we're on is in the land dispute. We are not involved with that. We have nothing to do with that. That is between two other parties. However, the one party that really doesn't have documents to back up the fact that that they have the tax declaration and stuff for all that. He is a barangay, not the captain. He's a barangay counselor. All right. So somehow, the barangay counselor got notification that, hey, we're doing a survey up in your area next to the property that you're in a battle with. So the surveyor shows up here, barangay captain, their whole crew, they all show up here and start yelling at my wife and my wife's uncle. You should have asked our permission and yada yada. My wife is not the kind of woman that sits back and goes, okay, okay, okay. No, she will speak up. My wife's uncle will speak up. So my wife's like, this has nothing to do with your land, that you're in a land dispute. We are getting a survey on the land that we are currently living on. And it was crazy. It was crazy. I heard him yelling. Like I said, I was nowhere near the whole situation. So their surveyor says, well, you still want me to survey this? My wife's like, yeah, survey it. This has nothing to do with them. They are sticking their nose in somebody else's business. All right. What people think is when they have property out here in the province, All right, you got to remember, we're talking province, we're talking a jungle, we're talking an island, we're not talking a city or anything like that. They feel when they own or have a title to a property, they can encroach in on government property and take over part of government property. That is not true. That is not true. The attorney even said it. So they did the survey, and everything was good. It was funny then because the people that showed up, the barangay counselor, the ones that are disputing the property next to us, well, let's all sit down, let's talk. And my wife's like, no, this has nothing to do with you. You're sticking your nose where it don't belong. All right. So they got the survey. They went down to the attorney. They said, here's our survey, here's what they came up with. The attorney said, okay, now you need to go down to City Hall. So they went down to City Hall. My wife, her uncle, everything like that. Waited for hours. You know what I'm saying? You know how that works, waiting for a government agency. They wanted to apply for a tax declaration. That would be the next step. Get it surveyed, find out if somebody owns it, find out what's going on, then apply for a tax declaration. Tax declaration gives you a step closer to actually getting a title or the rights to a property. City Hall looked at everything and said, no, you can't. You can't apply for a tax declaration. The reason being is because that property sits on mangrove land. It is protected mangrove land by the government. You cannot apply for a tax declaration. You can never own it, period. What happened when I did a video where I was talking about how a certain group of people threw trash on the property down the road to try to stink everybody out. And it was actually the local government tried to do. They tried to take over an area down the road. All right. They were turned down a tax declaration because where they were dumping it in that whole area, which is down the road from us, is part of the mangrove protection here in the Philippines. It didn't matter if it was a local government or not. The government of the Philippines says, hey, that is protected area. No, you will never get a declaration and you will never get a title for it. However, City Hall said, hey, you can go down to, hang on, what is it called? I have it right here. You can go down to DENR, Department of Environmental and Natural Resource. They are in charge of the mangrove protected areas in the Philippines. So my wife, her uncle, they all went down to the DENR, explained the situation to DENR. They said, hey, what can we do? We've been living here 30 plus years. My family's been here. They've developed it. They did everything here. They said, you cannot own it. It is straight up protected by the government, the DENR. You can live there, but you will never own it. You will never get a tax declaration for it. You cannot pay taxes on it. Then they were looking at the land because they were down there. They brought up the whole entire layout of the whole land here and everything. Here to find out that even the property that's in dispute next to it, part of that is also lying in mangrove protected area. They said anytime the ocean comes in, now this is a government agency telling us, anytime the ocean comes into an area, you can't file for a tax declaration and you'll never own it. And also because, it's the mangrove there. So my family was talking to them and stuff, and they're like, well, geez, we've been here this long. We've developed it, we've planted it, we've been here 30 plus years. The grandfather's been here. They said, listen, yes, it's government land. Can the government come in and take it over? Of course. You think about it, the government can come in and take anybody's land if you think about it. For real. All right? Yes, the government can come in and take it. However, they have to deplete all their other options around. For example, the government says, hey, want to put a, hang on a second. You see that? We want to put in a PNP barracks here, PNP training area here on Sherga Island. They have to deplete all the other options here, like land that the government owns already. That's not protected mangrove. And there's plenty of land here that the government owns. And even then, they say you're fighting two government agencies. All right. I said, put it this way. Your family is okay there. Your family and your kids will probably die on that property. I see it all over the island here. You know, this is number one continuously flowing mangrove island in the Philippines. All right. I drive down the roads. I see very nice homes, like built right by the mangroves. Those people don't own that home. They're living there. They put a house there. I think it was up until they said 1972, the government was basically telling people, now you got to understand something. We're away from a city. We're not in Manila. We're not in BGC. We're not in Cebu. We're not in a developed city. We're out in the jungle islands, the 7,000 plus jungle islands here. Up to 1972, the government allowed you to grab a plot of land, apply for a tax declaration, and then you could apply for a title to the property. That's how it worked here. After 1972, nope, that's it. So that's the situation. And like I said, I was not involved with any of this. I was nowhere around all this. My wife was just telling me, relaying everything to me. But they said, yeah, your family is okay there. They'll probably die there. The kids will die there. Now, when they came through and built the road, they built the road. The government built the road. All right. They didn't have an option. They came through because it was the only road to get out to where the port is. They didn't have an option. All right. They used that land up. But yeah, it brings a whole new ball. It's like a whole new ball game when it comes to like protected land, mangrove land, land that the government feels, hey, we're protecting this. You know what I mean? I guess it'd be like you saying, hey, I want to build a house right by Old Faithful. No, that's government land. And then my wife said, well, what about somebody's got money? Oh, I got money. I can buy the land up. Well, first of all, the government is not going to give it to you for a cheap price. All right. They're going to get massive amount of money. And they even said, DENR even said, no, even if somebody comes in with a lot of money, it's protected land. Protected land. But then again, it's the government, you know. Governments can do whatever they want, period. So that's what's going on. All right, now somebody jump up and say, Philly, you're a squatter. Your family's a squatter. Well, you got to go back. Years ago when people just came onto an island, grabbed up a piece of land, farmed it, stayed there. My wife's grandfather was a caretaker here for years and years and years and years and years. All right. They developed this area. They developed the area that the house sits on. They developed the area that, you know, the family's on, the property. But it's crazy. It's crazy. I'll leave you with one other thing here. All right. The land next to us, the two families that are disputing that, not our family. Remember, it's not our family. We have nothing to do with it. A couple weeks ago, they came and they started putting a little like shack back there, back in the back. All right. All wood, you know, NEPA roofing and everything like that. Well, that land that's in dispute butts up to another piece of property that a lawyer owns. The lawyer's out of Cebu. He owns that little piece of property. He owns a piece of property back there that butts up to the land that's being disputed. Well, they built that little shack on the lawyer's property. All right. So last week, the caretaker of that property, of the lawyer, went down there and said, hey, you're on the lawyer's land. You don't have any right to be on the lawyer's land. So now, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like I said, there's one party in this land dispute next to us. They have all the documentations. They have all the paperwork. They have everything. The other party that built a little house back there, now a little shack back there, in their mind, they think they own it. They've got, I did a whole video about it. They've got a survey that it wasn't even done by a surveyor, a real surveyor. That paper we got from the surveyor, it had seals on it, had signatures on it. It was professional, all right? But I don't understand what some people think. I really don't. Well, there it is, guys. There's what's going on. All right, haters jump at you're a squatter, you're a squat, whatever. But the family can never own this. They just cannot. Even with a tax declaration, they won't be able to get a title, no nothing. So they tried. I mean, they tried. So there's what's going on. Leave your comments below. I like reading comments. I like hearing what you guys have to say. So anyways, with that being said, that's about it. Oh, this is not driving us to leave the area. Somebody left a comment, oh, that's probably why you're leaving the area. There's something to do with the land. It's not, it has nothing to do with Lut and I looking maybe elsewhere to possibly live. Possibly is the key word. So there it is, guys, and we shall talk to you later.